Hello there once again. This is Mal, and this here is lesson 130 in this C++ series. And first, let me apologize about the noise in the background. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'll turn it off in a minute. That's just my fan. And I just came in from outside, and it's quite hot out there. So I need to have it on for a few minutes. First I want to mention that, as I mentioned in the previous video, about handling the impossible scenario, and of course, are mostly tongue-in-cheek. I described the calling of a particular function, a function being called back on, I should say, which is no longer in this project. Move that away. I described that as an accident, meaning if you don't get my sense of humor, and a lot of people don't, if I say that it must have been an accident, then that's a joke. And the reason we know it's a joke is because the following line is, and I spent a lot of time working on it, right? So that means there was a lot of deliberation towards a particular end, and then that end happened, and so to say accident is a joke. I just thought I'd let you know that sometimes people don't always get my jokes. There was nothing accidental about it at all, of course. I set it up to work that way. And now, the way I did it is convoluted a bit, and it's not hard to understand, but it's hard to explain because it's not one of those linear type things. You have to imagine kind of two things at once, or three, or five, and but it's not a hack. That is, I don't think so anyway. And one of the reasons why I don't think it's a hack is because I just changed it completely, utterly and completely changed it. So there is that callback doesn't get called in this class, that gets called in this class. Okay. So now if I can change that easily, within a few minutes, then it can't be that much of a hack, because everything is, it's easy to make modifications. If it's easy to make modifications to something, then that is an indication of its hackiness. Sorry, the opposite. If it's difficult to make change to something, that is an indication of how much hackiness is involved in a thing. Because when a thing has been thrown together without thought, then it is a difficult thing to modify, because if there's little thought put into making something, that means there's little forethought put into making something, and therefore changes are difficult to make generally. So now the callback's in here, and I've moved this into a common area, and it's a standard one that controls. Now these are virtual functions exported, and it turns out not by listbox, although they could be handled in listbox, and they aren't. And I've called this a listing control. There are two types of listing controls. There's a combo box and a list box. I can't think of any others. Maybe there are more. And both of those have these optional overrides. And there's another optional override. Sorry, these are not really optional because there's an assert here. If If the thing that you're making is owner drawn, then these calls will get invoked and then the assert will go off. If the thing that you're making is not owner drawn, then these won't get called. I hope. No, they won't, sorry. Definitely won't. And the assert won't go off. So these are semi-optional. They're actually, will they get, no, they will not get called if the thing is not owner drawn. I'm pretty sure of that. I didn't test it, but I'm pretty sure. So there's no sense in overriding these things in that case. So they really should only apply, but there's no way for me to tell except by making another class whether or not it's an owner-drawn listing control. So I should have really owner-drawn listing control with these being pure virtual, and this partial virtual, and then listing control. But this is good enough, and it's not that much of a hack. So I changed that. Now that thing gets called back in icon list box, which does have handling for both of these messages. This handling does nothing. In fact, it's probably better to indicate that here. MFC, they always hide this, and I don't like that. Because then you can't tell if something actually has any default handling that you could call back on. And this doesn't, right? So you know that if you override this, A, you know you don't have to call back to the parent or the superclass. And B, you know you don't have to put in the implementation there if you don't want to. This is the default implementation for all cases. A measure item, of course, I've just returned the value 22. I didn't use any number define. And I don't want to use a number define in this case. I'd rather it be something that you can set in the list box class, a member variable, set height, set item height to such and so, and then it can return that. But definitely not anything that's a number defined, because then it's fixed forever, right? Here it's only just some number. Anyone who looks at this part of the code will immediately understand that that's just an arbitrary number, and if I happen to get killed, knocked over by a bus or something tomorrow, and someone finds this code, not very likely. Both are not very likely, but it could happen. And somebody might find this line, and they will know immediately that there's nothing special about this item height, that this is arbitrary, it's just a number. Similarly, there's some drawing. Now initially, actually, I've still got the part of the comment left. The last time I mentioned that a good idea would be to put the handle to icon in the text, right? In the text of the list box. But that's actually, it works. I actually tried that, and it does work. Worked fine, perfectly the first time, except there's also the problem of retrieving the text just to see what it says, right? And there's nothing in here to do that. That's just handled by the parent. And the parent doesn't know about icons being in the text, and so it'll dutifully return whatever the text happens to be. And here's I don't know if I'm still not happy with this name either, but Maybe I'll just get rid of this one. But I want a thing that tells me if there really is, you know, if I've made a mistake and passed in a bad index. Now this thing, all it does is assert and return an empty string. But an empty string is a valid entry in the list box. You can have empty strings, no problem. You know, just a blank string. So, I don't know. I could just call, I don't know what a better name for this is. Like for the registry, it's get. Oh, how about that? Just get with index and text. So that's exactly the same name as I use for the registry, which returns a Boolean, and then get text would return text. And get here could return some, well, in this case, only strings, but okay, let's change that. Actually, I'm happy with that idea. First, I gotta get here. Oh, that's I gotta get to the implementation before I change the name. Is anybody using this? Yes, I can't change it just yet. So anyway, about those strings containing the icon in the end and this get text problem, it turns out I was looking through the functions that are provided by just a listing control type object, and those are these. And it turns out they've already got exactly what we want. There's a thing called get and set item data, taking a long PTR for retrieving, now this should really say long PTR, if that's what you're setting. Long PTR turns out to be the word, right? It's unsigned long, but in the 64-bit world that will become a 64-bit thing. So really, really that should return the same thing we set. That aside, you can put into the Windows data structure an optional user-defined item that it could be interpreted as long or a pointer, one or the other. So we don't need to add it in with the text. We can associate with each line of text an icon value by just storing the H icon in the item data. And that's what I did. It still works fine. Did I change something? Yeah, it should work fine. And I don't have to change any handling with retrieving the text and trying to figure out how to navigate around the directories. It turns out as well that even that part I don't need to handle in here. They have a special function which uses the kind of text that's filled in automatically. The way I'm doing it, I'm using a special autofill thing, or is it refresh list or something? Okay, now this listing is not something that I'm filling in. I'm getting that to happen by calling a special function called dialog dir list. Where is it? Here, no. Where is it? That's my own callback. What the heck did I do? Here, this. Here it is. Okay, I haven't indicated it properly. That's being a global function provided from the operating system, which takes a bunch of flags. What were these flags? So the identifier of the list box, that's that. ID static. Oh, that's an ID. This is another. This is the control identifier for the place where it should write down the current path. And these are flags to do with how and what you want to have displayed. I want drives, I want directories, and archive just means files. So drives, directories, and files. And it puts in those square brackets and everything for you. Now I went through a lot of trouble to try and interpret that text to know what to do. See, like if I see that, and I change directory and so on. Not knowing, and I just found out the other day, that they've also implemented that for me too. So I didn't need to do that part either. In fact, this program is probably reducing, ever increasingly reducing to almost nothing. I just pressed F1. Maybe I'll hit pause. Okay, I found it. It's not true. I misread part of that. I am doing too much handling in one sense. There's a function called dir select. Okay. Where instead of just doing get text from the list, this thing is aware of the format and removes brackets and minus signs and so on. It assumes that remove square brackets and hyphens so that you can use the whatever was retrieved and insert that into a path. Now it sends cursel and get text messages to the list box. That's handled already. You can't have more than one file name. No multi-select. Okay, but the other thing is, if it's a combo box, there's this. This is the one I read. If it happens to be a combo box, which is a combo box, is that, okay? If it happens to be something of that type, then you can call this dialog dir select combo box, and it's supposed to change. Wait a minute, that's not the right function. Not dir select. Right. Dir list combo box. One of these things changes the directory and everything for you. If the path specified in that changes, if it specifies the directory, yeah, okay, here it is. If LP path spec, that's the thing that you supply to the function. No, it's not the same. I guess I just misread it. I thought it. I thought it did what I was doing, navigating part automatically. Because one of the things I do is I do the thing I don't need to handle, which is to remove the square brackets and take appropriate action. So this would take me back one directory. This would take me forward and back. Now this will change drives and take me to the current directory on that drive. And one problem though with this dialog dir list is that it lists invalid drives, and I don't like that fact. F here actually is invalid, so I'm going to have an empty list unless I'm still in C back. Maybe I've rebooted since. I made a it was called K. It was called K. I made a substituted drive for a test. So, let's see if that shows up. There's no K. There's no K. How does that work again? Drive subs, drive colon, and then the actual path. So I suppose I want that to be C user documents. Right. Okay. So now that should show up hopefully show up in the list. But you see those other drives aren't available. There are no. Okay, there's K. Can I change to it? Yeah. So that part works. Now can I always change back? No, see, it's got the double dots, but I can't go further back than this root. I end up in the same drive. I can go to fax, and I can go to the inbox. I can't go any further than that. Now, sometimes I might use a subs for some path that I'm always referring to, but just temporarily. I don't know once you use the command prompt, but one of the great features of the command prompt, unlike something like Explorer, is that you can do like drive to drive copy. If you're in a command box, I go to C. Okay, now here I am in C back. Suppose I go to a different directory. Here. Now, if there's a file here, and I wanted, let's say, po.bat, okay, and I wanted to move that to some place on my D drive, right? Then that's easy. All I got to do is go over to D. Navigate to the drive I wanted to bring it to. Let's say I wanted to put it in. I wanted to put it in here, so I can say copy C:po.bat. See, and I didn't have to specify the full path because, as far as the other drive is concerned, it's still in C bat marks. Now I can't do that trick when I'm on D, Like if I have some file I've just found or see. Let me go let's see. Okay. Some big ugly path. Oh, come on, where's Microsoft? That's pretty okay. Oh, let's see, now this is terrible, right? Is there anything in here? Okay, now suppose I want on the same C drive where this is, I want to copy this to a specific folder, or maybe I want to copy not only this, but subdirectories as well. This, just one. Okay, suppose I wanted to copy all that stuff to another place, but I don't want to change drives, right? So first, I want to go away. I want to get to that other directory, but I want to maintain this spot, right? So what I can do is I can say subs. Let me get rid of this. Subs J colon, and this should work. I put in quotations my current directory. I might need a slash, but I doubt it. Okay. Now I can go back to C and do whatever I like. This now I've saved. It's sort of like I've pushed this directory onto a holding place called J. That's not going to disappear on me with a hot D or something. It's like a global variable position. And now where did I want to put that thing? And so I go back here, and I go to my home. And I was very interested in putting that in my DLL image cache. I don't have a directory. In my temp directory, stupid things. Okay, great. Copy, X copy, /E, J, star. In fact, I can even say that it's because it's the root, but this will work. Remember, both of these are a C drive, turns out. Must be a big file. But I managed to be in two places at once on the same drive and reconstructed or the setup so I can have files and folder. Copy that thing. Now that I'm done with that, you don't want to let these things pile up. You can just remove that subs. So subs / J colon / D, I think. Was it J or K? J. No. Okay, so that gets rid of it. It would have appeared in my dialog. Now, why am I talking about that? Oh yeah, the fact that dialog dir lists invalid drives is a bit annoying. Explorer also lists those invalid drives. If you notice, I bring up Explorer. Okay, this is okay, C and D and K are valid. But if I go to this view, it's listing all of these unusable drives. They're not currently usable. So the listing that appears in this pane is the correct one, the one that you want to see, and this should, I don't know, maybe they should appear in the grayed out or something would be better. But they definitely shouldn't appear in my list box. Alright, now our goal here is, if you recall, or my goal anyway, and now I've actually added another goal. I want to add extra features to this program. Our goal is to put this new control, and I started working on it, got rid of its own handler, is to put that into the application dialog. It's a dialog. The program itself happens to be a dialog, just a dialog. And again, what I've got to do now, we're ready to start working on it. First, look at the header file. Let's see what we don't need. Okay, now we're not going to need. We probably won't need that. Well, maybe we will. But remember, okay, yeah, so that's fine. That's a structure. Remember, we can associate. Oh no, we can't use that now. H-wind and name. Well, we don't need that data. Oh, let me think. Let me see what this is. List of all windows. Oh, I see. So it walks through the top level windows and collects name and H-wind for all of the top level windows. Name being the title bar text. Now find H-wind obviously searches through that list. We don't really need that. Well, maybe we do. No, we don't need that. We can probably get rid of that. H-wind app. Now all this stuff has to do with the system tray, so we won't need that. Oops. And we won't need that. That's also been handled. I don't know. I don't use that. I don't give a callback anymore on completion of dialog init. So that's the meaning. Now the reason for this thread proc is because the gathering, the building of this list doesn't occur in the same thread as the dialog box. No, I guess it does. Okay, so this dialog box has its own thread apart from oh, I see. Well, I think I see. Let's look a little bit further. We definitely don't need this. That's been handled by the system tray stuff. This we need. Well, there's no C-winds in this world. This, well, we could keep that. Icon list box, that's what we just created. We won't need this boolean. The boolean here, I had to force that iteration, right? But now I always do the iteration, so we won't need that checkbox anymore. So we can get rid of that. Where was it? I don't know what that is. Now, window prop. We are a dialogue. It says dialogue. So I don't know what that is. Maybe in MFC it's called window prop. For us it's DLG prop. Whatever it is. Cool. Whatever that, I forget. Fill that in later. Now this is all MFC things. Which I'm just comment them out so that I can see what things I might have to handle. I might have to handle timer. Now this hotkey thing has to do with the fact that you may have observed that every time this thing comes up, it comes up not because of an accident or because I chanted something that you couldn't hear to the angels or God or anything. It's because there's a hotkey that brings it up that I have set up, and the way I've set up the hotkey is by just this type of hotkey. Anything on your desktop, for anything on your desktop, you can assign a hotkey by typing any letter in here. Like suppose I type the letter W, see? Then Control-Alt-W would bring this thing up. I can apply it and show you. I'm going to do, you can't tell that I'm doing it, but whoops, I can bring that thing up by magic, speaking to the angels, and there it is, you see? And it wasn't speaking to the angels, it was because I pressed Control-Alt-W. But that's really, I don't want that. Now how do I get rid of it? Maybe, there. I pressed backspace, that seems to work. Okay. Now I didn't type Control-Alt-W when in here, I just typed W. And my thing, even though you can't see it on the desktop, uses the same idea. I can bring it back. So I have a thing that hides it. You can also bring it back. And we'll come back. Here it is. Okay. And if I do properties, it's Control-Alt-X. Okay. But once it turns out that once a thing has been registered with the desktop, if you hide it, the hotkey continues to work. On the other hand, if Explorer dies, or if you reboot and the thing is hidden, it won't pick it up the next time in. So that's a little bit of a hassle. And I'd like to find a way around that hassle so that Explorer can find the hidden entry. All of those things, by the way, are here. Desk are in this directory. See? These here are the link files that correspond with these items, and there are some of them are like you don't see this one, but how many have I got? 8. 7 listed here, and 1 that's global to the whole system, so that I have a global spot, and it intermixes with my desktop. Now, where's the one that was here? It's hidden. There it is. Oops, not that one. This one. This is just an ini file. But here's my link whose sole purpose for being here is for the hotkey. So I don't have any other reasons why I want it here, other than for the hotkey. And it has to be here. You can't register a link with the shell unless the link itself, the file itself, is in the desktop directory, and therefore it must automatically be shown on the screen. And I don't want that shown on the screen. So I'd like to solve that problem if possible. And what else? So we got rid of a bunch. I started working on it actually, because I see I put a pen. Yeah, I put a pen here. No problem. H file we were looking at. Okay, so now we don't need any arrays. We don't need a map of strings to windows or anything like that, because that's, to icons. That's handled by the. We're going to have an icon list box somewhere in here. It'll be programs. They're running the top level program. Oh, now here's a list of H-wins. You know what that's for. Now I'm curious about this thread. Let's see what the thread prop does. Okay, get all top level windows. Oh no, it has it's calling get all top level windows, which is a slow operation. And get all top level windows is not a built-in function. It's taking how I compiled this, but that's not built in. Maybe it's here. No. Where the heck is it? Oh, that was in my old version of Common. I don't have that anymore. In my previous version of Common, in my other project, I have such a function which returns to me the H-wins corresponding to all top level windows. Alright. Now check if it's visible. And then I'm filling in this data structure. I'm creating my own, yet another list. H-win and name, which associates with each H-win a string. Okay. Well, now that's probably from before at one point I didn't even have any icons on that list box. All I had was just the window names. Then I added the icons in later. So here I am building a completely useless structure, duplicating information, which you should never do if you don't have to, and if that's not necessary, so we'll have to try to get rid of this here, but yet we still want to populate that list. What else does this do? This thread prop. Get the list of H-wins, so now we know that we have this list, which we will subsequently start walking through and check if they're visible. If visible, then we take the data structure that we got from here. First we had a list of H-wins. Yeah, no, so that's just what I was telling you. That's just where we were. So that's all that this thing does. fills in this list of 8 visible handles to window that are top level and have an actual title. Alright. So why do we need a separate thread for that? Because it's a slow operation. If it's a slow operation, and here we are, our dialogue actually, there's the thread, the main thread of the program which runs the dialogue, okay? And that thread is the one associated with what was called wind proc, wherever that is. Here, we call it dialogue proc. Now this is actually a wind proc, I think. Yeah, a dialogue proc doesn't receive a WM create message. Okay, now the reason why this, I see, in MFC, what you're allowed to do, they've done what I haven't done. They've made a dialogue and a window, one and the same, derived from one and the same class, and both have virtual overrides therefore for wind proc. And in order to get in ahead of the dialogue proc, you have to override wind proc. Now there should really be a dialogue proc as well in that program, but that program doesn't do anything extra in the dialogue proc, really. But it does call TS.IC. This would have said C dialogue, right, in MFC. And the C dialogue's window proc is probably def DLG proc and override. They would have subclassed the global dialogue proc. Oh no, you can't. No, you can. You can subclass it. You can't modify it. And then, so there's no dialogue proc. There's on and it dialogue. Oh, I see. Because I'm thinking, again, I'm thinking in terms of the new code and the old code. But this code is actually older even than where I took it from. Because that source 3, the other directory where I took this from, doesn't use MFC either. But I managed to get this to compile in there sort of separately in a half-half, no, completely in its own space using MFC and using just a few things from common lib like the registry stuff. No, but it couldn't have. Well, it could have. It could have. It would have linked the static MFC library. There's a static and a dynamic version of MFC. Timer, click. And the way MFC works is not by you overriding something called dialogue proc, but instead by overriding virtual functions. So here they are. If the selection changed, right, do something. If somebody pressed the change hotkey, this thing has a hotkey. I can bring it up directly. I have a batch pop. I thought I had SM. I think I can write it from the link. Okay. There's a button. No, see, it's not working in this case because this program also is unable to find its desktop shortcut link because it's hidden. And why is it unable to do it? Not because it can, but because it's using the standard interface, which doesn't allow, as far as I know. But probably I could find out if I spent a couple years investigating this component object model interface called iShellLink. A way to search also hidden files, but I doubt it. So, okay. Wait a minute. Alright, I've taken way too much time again, but now you see that, of course, all of this is going to go. There won't be any of that. There won't be any of this stuff. This will just be handled in DLG prompt. This won't be required. And I'm going to try to find a way to remove this data duplication. We should be able to add the strings to the list box while we go through the iteration, instead of calling it one iterate and then doing another iterate. We can call a function. There is a function to walk through the, and if there isn't, we'll make one, to walk through the top level windows. And then whenever we get called back on one of those windows, we will call up our class, and our class will add another entry to the list box. So it'll go directly from the operating system into the list box, no intervening list in between. And so all the information will be in one place, except that in the meantime, as well as adding the title of the window to the box, we'll extract the icon, and if it has no icon, we'll use a default icon for those things that don't have icons. And I want to add another feature. This particular one, just like this, has only one method. All it does is handles a single click, which brings the thing back up. But what I would like is to have an option. First, I'd like to have a right click. People know to right click if they, which doesn't do anything here, but if they want to see what they can do, they just know that right click is what you're supposed to do. See? Here I can do, I'm selecting options, right? So I'd like the same thing here. One of the options I'd like is to say whether or not you want it to work on a single click or a double click. It's one option. And if it's a single click situation, then, a double click situation, then one could change the behavior of a single click. And one of the things I wanted to add, and I'm not sure exactly how to do it, but I think it won't be that hard, is if it's in the double click scenario, a single click should bring up this list of menus. See? So what I can do is, here I'm playing my music, but I don't want to bring the whole thing back up. I just want to click here and press pause, or change the volume, or skip to the next song, or whatever, right? Now that would be a property of this program, but any program could use this kind of interface to do the same sort of thing. That is to enable, I'll give it a special name, program menu, program menu as pop-up menu. Program menu as program menu as pop-up menu. Map PM a PM, PM a PM, PM PM. Program menu pop-up. Well, there's no good acronym for it. Alright, okay. So I'm going to think about those things. I'm going to get the basic one going first with the fancy box, and then work on those other things too. Okay, see you.